I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders. Through dreams we design, with vision we build.
Styling even more. Since 2008, we have led the way. Living the Jackson life each and every day. MuscleSport.com.
Welcome to WGBB Radio MuscleSport Media Live right here, 95.9 FM and 1240 AM on your radio dial. I am your co-host, Joe Pietaro. Anthony is not here, but we will be having Joe Wiz Sports from ESPN Radio will be calling in just a few moments, and we'll be getting some of his sports handicapping right here on tonight's episode. So live from Merrick, New York, a lot of things to talk about in the sports world, especially in the sports gaming world. Baseball season, we're getting closer to the All-Star break. And also, I wanted to touch base with him a little bit on the potential Triple Crown that we had going on that did not happen. And, you know, everybody out there that plays the ponies, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Sovereignty, the owner decided not to run him in the second leg of the Triple Crown, much to most of the people's chagrin involved with the horse racing and the Triple Crown. So to have a horse that won two legs of them, we're always going to have the unanswered question: could he have won the Triple Crown? And that's something that I want someone who knows a little bit more about it than I do, Mr. Joe Wiz Sports, he of ESPN Radio. Joe, welcome to WGBB MuscleSport Media Live once again tonight.
Thanks for having me back on. I'm ready to make some money for everyone out there. And, you know, horse racing, that's one of my favorite sports to make money at. And let's fire away.
I was just intro at the beginning of the show. We'll never know. Was Sovereignty going to win the Triple Crown or not? So, to me, it seemed that I was very disappointed that he pulled him out of the second race, out of the Preakness. But then some people say, well, he was ready to go, and it's a dollar and cents thing. I mean, it's an expensive sport, for these people that own these horses, and to get him at that level. So maybe he felt that race he wouldn't have won that race, and then that would have messed him up for the third leg for the Belmont. What's your take on this, Joe?
Yeah, as a fan, you might want to be a little bit disappointed that we didn't see Sovereignty run in the second leg in the Preakness. However, horse racing is a business, and the stable that owns Sovereignty is, from Saudi Arabia, the Godolphin Group. They are loaded with money, so it really wasn't a money issue. It was a matter, if it really was a money issue, they might be able to consider running in the Preakness. However, Bill Mott, the trainer, more or less said before the Derby even started, if his horse wins the Derby, it's most likely that his horse would not run in the Preakness. And, it's very challenging for a horse to run these, that's why it's the Triple Crown. But, the Triple Crown used to be something that was never accomplished, but we've seen it happen, quite a few times in the last decade. And now it's all no longer as prestigious as it used to be. But from the business perspective, and it's very taxing on a horse to run in the Derby and then come back and run in 2 weeks in the Preakness and then 3 weeks at the Belmont. So I think it was a smart choice from a business perspective. And if it was me, I probably would have done the same thing. But I can understand from a fan's perspective, you want to see the Triple Crown run. But for the horse's sake, I think it's probably, when it's not a money issue, and it certainly isn't for the Dolphin stables, not running in the Triple Crown is not that number one priority.
And it was even kind of odd. He was actually not even the favorite. at Belmont. He was slightly the second favorite, and it actually worked out well for me at 5-2. I hit that, and I hit the exacta. So I was happy with the results of that day, even though there was no Triple Crown. I'm worried about it. I'm not as rich. I don't have a Saudi Arabia backing, so I was happy to see the way it was, and I felt that that was the best way to go for that horse. I felt that he was going to win that race. And it was a great race. I mean, he pulled away at the very end. How did you feel going into that race? Did you feel Sovereignty was going to win, or did you feel that we were going to see journalism go again?
Pretty much, I felt it was going to be the same way as we saw them happen in the Kentucky Derby. Obviously, the Kentucky Derby, it's all about getting the right trip. But, Sovereignty with Junior Alvarado, this is a world champion jockey, and he brought him on the outside, and he ran right by journalism. And the same thing happened. Journalism has the speed, and, you got to take into question here. Now, journalism ran in the Derby and the Preakness, and then all of a sudden, how much did he have left? And, in the Belmont, it just was a repeat of the Kentucky Derby. Journalism was right there, and Baeza was right there, but Sovereignty, the best horse, it was a short field, and they ran right by journalism. And you got to give journalism a lot of credit with the Murdo Ruspoli, but the best horse, there is no doubt right now in the country as a 3-year-old is Sovereignty.
Yeah, I mean it was the exact same finish, same board finish 1, 2, 3 as the Derby. Plus, it was a muddy track that day at Belmont. Did you think that gave any advantage to either one of those horses?
No, because basically they both ran in the Kentucky Derby, and the conditions were just as bad, if not worse, at the Kentucky Derby. And believe it or not, by the time the track conditions for the Belmont, it was raining most of the day, but by the time this race went off at a little bit after 7 p.m., the conditions weren't as bad as they were at the Kentucky Derby. So, they both ran in the Derby, and we saw the same exact results happening at Belmont. So I didn't think it impeded either performance of either horse. I just think that Sovereignty, with the late closing kick, he showed that he's the best horse.
Yeah, I mean, it was the race started later than it usually does, so it actually worked in the benefit for the track, itself to dry out a little bit more. That extra half hour, a lot of times it used to be 6:25 was post time. It was like 7:05 or whatever for this race. But a great Triple Crown season per se for fans of the horse racing. So now, as people who like horse racing, what are we looking forward to now? What are the next big races coming up now that the big three are behind us, Joe?
Well, there's always a big race at Monmouth Racetrack, one of my favorite tracks. I was there yesterday in the mud and slop on Father's Day. Monmouth Racetrack has the $1 million Haskell Invitational, so you'll see some horses there. Probably none of the horses that ran at Belmont will probably run there, but you'll see some there. And then, of course, you have the Travers, which will be at the end of August in Saratoga. And then, of course, the Breeders' Crown, which will be taking place in Churchill. That'll be, of course, that'll be something gigantic as well. Actually, that'll be in Del Mar, Breeders' Crown this year, and next year Churchill, and then in 2 years from now, it'll be at Belmont Park. And also, by the way, next year the Belmont Stakes will also be held at Saratoga because Belmont Park will not be completed in time.
I heard that on the broadcast, and I was hoping they would be back there next year. It's been there, so that'll be 3 years then, right? That they had to relocate Belmont.
Yep. And it's a mile and, basically the biggest difference. And it really hasn't come into play because we had no Triple Crown this year. Yeah. Obviously, at the Belmont, the old Belmont with the Triple Crown, the most taxing of the three races is a mile and a half. And now, with Belmont Stakes, it's a mile and a quarter. But it really hasn't come into play, and there hasn't been that situation where we have the Triple Crown and stuff like that. And I think that the NYRA done a great job, conducting a 5-day race from Wednesday. They had to deal with a lot of bad weather. Saratoga weather is very unpredictable up there. So they did a great job with it. And overall, next year, we'll see it at Churchill. And then the following year, it'll be at Belmont with the opening of Belmont, which I can't wait. I remember the last time the Breeders' Crown was held back in, I think it was 2007, back in Belmont Park. I'll be looking forward to being there again.
I mean, that's right in my backyard practically. It's, I'm in Suffolk. It's a little west of me, but I'm looking forward for that, to the reopening of that track as well. I guess we'll switch gears a little bit. That's pretty much it with the horse racing. Baseball, I mean, we're not at the All-Star break, but we're starting to see some contenders and some pretenders going on, and you did the article for us, and you made some picks. So looking at it now a little bit with some games under our belt, give us your take as far as what's going on so far with the baseball season.
Well, in the American League, I think everything's going per se according to what everyone expected at the beginning of the season with the Yankees. But right now, even though the Yankees, I know they just got swept by Boston, but Tampa all of a sudden is just 4 games behind the Yanks in the standings. Then you got the Toronto Blue Jays and even the Boston Red Sox. Who knows how the Red Sox are going to react after that massive trade they did with Devers? The biggest surprise, I guess, in the American League right now has to be the Detroit Tigers. I don't think anybody expected them to be as good as they are. The Detroit Tigers right now, they'll be favored over anybody in Game 1 with Skubal on the mound when he's pitching. So, if they face the Yankees in the American League Championship Series, regardless if it's Max Fried, I think if Detroit is at home, they would probably be favored over the Yankees, at least to win Game 1. And in the National League, the Mets, believe it or not, are a surprise. I mean, no one expected the Mets to be as good as they are. But albeit said, although the Mets have been playing so well, right now, they're only 2 games ahead of the Philadelphia Phillies, who was my pick to come out of the National League. You got the Cubs in the Central, and of course you got the monster, the LA Dodgers. Who knows what's going to happen with San Francisco now that they got Devers, and even the San Diego Padres. But, Philadelphia Phillies right now are just 2 games behind. But listen, so much for winning the divisions, okay? I don't put that much credence to it, because we just saw a couple of years ago when we saw 2 wild card teams with Arizona and Texas winning as a wild card team in the World Series. So winning the division is okay, but it's who's hot in October, who's going to win the World Series.
Yep, definitely. We're being joined right now by Joe Wiz Sports of ESPN Radio. You go to joewizsports.com, master handicapper, and also want to thank our title sponsor right here at MuscleSport Media Live, WGBB, Noah Construction-Builders.com. No job too big nor small for Pete and the boys at Noah. Make sure you go to their website. Their Instagram is amazing with some beautiful drone footage of some of their work being done there. Joe, tell us a little bit about what's going on with the Fine Line and with Joe Wiz Sports. And we got plenty of time left, but I want to make sure people go out there and they go and get your tip sheet, because it's phenomenal. I love it, and I want other people to enjoy it as well. So let's talk a little bit about, put yourself out there a little bit now.
Well, everyone can listen to my show. I'm on 98.7 FM in New York, the old 98.7. Now it's 880 AM, but 98.7, everyone's still familiar with that, but that's now a music station. It's now 880. So anyone that listens to ESPN New York, 880, that's the dial. You can pick me up on them every Saturday morning and on every Sunday morning as well. And on Instagram, we put out pics all the time. Joe Wiz Sports, JOEWIZ on Instagram. On X, the same thing. It's interesting because today on X I put out a comment about how the Yankees have scored just 5 runs in the last 4 games, yet the Angels have given up 24 runs in the last 4 games. So it's kind of a quagmire. What do you do here? Yanks scoring 5 runs in 4 games, the Angels giving up 24. So there's a lot of tidbits we put out there on X, on Instagram. But the best thing to do is, follow me on Instagram. I like Instagram better because it's a little bit more interactive. Sometimes if people have a question, whether it's bet a money line, whether they want to bet the run line, listed pitcher, there's so many variables involved with pitching and baseball that people just bet a baseball game, but yet they don't take into consideration the number one factor when they're betting a baseball game is the pitcher. The Fine Line is on every Saturday and Sunday morning. Again, it's on 880. We used to be on 98.7, but it's 880. It's been like that for a year now. So ESPN New York, 880 on the AM dial.
The worldwide leader in sports, ESPN, doesn't get bigger than that, and Joe is on there every weekend, right there in the morning hours. A little bit more on the diamond. This trade, Rafael Devers. Now we know that there was been a lot of friction going on with him in the clubhouse. He didn't want to be he played DH. They brought Bregman in. He's playing third. So Devers has been a little bit of a distraction. The team has underperformed a little bit. People thought they were going to be a little bit better to start the year. Now they trade Devers, and they really didn't get, some of these kids, it might be a great trade 2 years from now. But we don't know that. It looks like it was more of a money thing with the whole soccer thing. I know pretty sure you heard that whole thing with the Liverpool team and the money that the signing bonus money. So what do you think about that trade as far as, sweep aside? They got the Yankees number this year. Let's just put it that way. They've been beating the Yankees all year long. But sweep aside, the Boston Red Sox, and that was a team that you liked a lot going into the season, and I didn't disagree with you. I thought they were going to have a real good bounce-back season, and my only question was, how deep is Crochet going to go into games, because he did not go deep at all with the White Sox, and it possibly could have been, money-related and him not wanting to maybe get hurt before he was going to get his big payday. Boston Red Sox minus Rafael Devers, the fan base is completely pissed off. What do you say, Joe?
Well, when you take a look at it from a business perspective, the Red Sox really did not have much of a choice. Devers did not really want to play at first base, and that was the only place they could put him. And, it'd be very expensive just to keep him as a DH. Yeah. So Boston really had no choice because he was causing a lot of dissension. Whenever you have dissension amongst teammates, these are all professional athletes here. You got a good team. You just got Bregman. You got Crochet. So you got some talent there. So, listen, if you're paying someone so much money and they tell you 10 times they don't want to, that no matter what, you have to, at some point, if you cannot accommodate a player, you got to do the next thing is move them. And they've done everything possible. Boston ownership even flew out in the middle of the week, on a weekend, throughout to Kansas City to meet with Devers, and he was just unhappy, and it was causing friction with some of the players. And you're never going to read that in media, but I think that there's no doubt the Red Sox have underperformed. They're just one game over 500. Yeah, they beat the Yanks 5 out of 6, but that's not that important because the Yanks have bigger fish to fry than the Red Sox, and right now the Yanks are in first place in the East. But the Boston Red Sox, although they're only just one game over 500, they're only a half game out of the wild card. If they can get their act together, and maybe one of their pitchers they got with Harrison, if he starts pitching better, and somehow this team comes back, Bregman's been on a DL, he's going to come back, maybe this team will rally and start performing. But, it's not going to be easy to replace Devers. They're not going to do it this year. And obviously the Red Sox this year, the way we see it, unless something happens crazy in the second half and they make a big trade, I don't know if they're obviously World Series contenders this year, as I thought they would be at the beginning of the season with losing Devers. But I think there's still a team to be reckoned with, and we saw them take 5 out of 6 from the Yanks.
Now, when a team trades a guy like Devers, and even though, he has a lot of talent, but there was a lot of friction, like you said, looking at a team like that right out of the bat, talking about, putting some money on the team, is that a team to avoid, or maybe to look at that they got this monkey off their back, or are they going to be their head spinning saying, we just lost one of our best guys? Are they a team that you should maybe avoid or want to play right now?
When you take a look at it, you got to look at the mental aspect. And a lot of people don't look at that. You look at the team, the players. But what is the mental condition? Boston just beat the Yanks. They just swept the Yanks, right? Now they're flying 3,000 miles. They're playing in Seattle today. How are they going to react going up against Seattle, okay? So question marks like that, you never know what the mental. But losing a bat like Devers is definitely going to have a big impact on the Red Sox because they don't have anybody. Bregman's not in the lineup. He's not going to be in the lineup for any time soon. He's making improvements, but I'm not sure when he's going to be back. So that's going to be a big factor. And right now, I would say you take a wait-and-see attitude with the Red Sox, especially on the road. I don't trust them that much. Boston, at home, they're 22-17. On the road, 15-19. They're playing in Seattle. Seattle's so-so team this year. They're just 2 games over 500. Seattle's almost like a mirror image of the Boston Red Sox are. So I would wait and sit back because you don't know. Missing Devers and the mental aspect of it, 2 challenging things to look at. But I would take a wait-and-see attitude. I wouldn't push on the Red Sox just right now.
Maybe an under if it's attractive there, not to touch the team. Just seeing how they lose a big bat like that and Bregman's still out. Maybe you got like an 8.5 or something. That might not be, especially if Seattle's got some good starters and they keep the runs low. So that might be a good under pick if you don't want to pick either for or against the Bo Sox going in a little bit. You mentioned the Mets before, Joe. The Mets have played way better than we expected them to play. The pitching has been, for the most part, lately it's been a little bit bad, but the starters have been a big, great surprise that they've been able to hold it together and have the best record in baseball for a lot of the year before Detroit overtook that. But you can start to see there's some chinks in the armor, McGill thing. You can start to see there are problems. Senga's going to miss at least 3 starts, and the Mets are very cautious with pitchers and injuries. They're probably going to leave him out even longer. If you're looking at the Mets, is that a team that you probably don't want to put too much money down on right now because there are some questions going on? Like you said, Philly is creeping up, and earlier in the season, the Mets should have had be able to separate themselves from the pack.
Yeah, when you take a look at the Mets, as I mentioned, they have overachieved all season, and you got to give them tremendous credit. But right now, they are tied with the Detroit Tigers with the amount of losses. So, Detroit, percentage-wise, has a .630 winning percentage. The Mets, right there, are at, .625. So them and Detroit more or less have the best records in baseball. Detroit has one more win than the Mets do. That's the only reason why. But other than that, the Mets right now are tied with Detroit for the best record in baseball. Tigers had one more win. But, when you take a look at it, Senga, he's probably not going to be back till after the All-Star All-Star game. Hamstrings are always tricky. And all of a sudden, we saw him get lit up yesterday.
Yeah.
How is he, he played well at the beginning. This Mets team is going to have to make a move somewhere along the line and have to get another pitcher. And, of course, Soto, he's been underperforming this year. So that's the only bright spot for the Mets also, in addition to them playing so well, that Soto has not played to the level that everyone expected him to play. But, the Mets have come back to the pack here right now. The Philadelphia Phillies are just 2 games behind in the loss column, okay? And when you look at it here, the Mets have, we'll see what happens here, because the Mets got the Braves, and the Mets are might be underdogs in all 3 games. Tomorrow they're underdogs. They're plus 110 tomorrow with Peterson pitching. Of course, when they face Sale, they'll be an underdog. So, and then, of course, they got to play Philadelphia. And Philly will be looking for revenge after getting swept by the Mets at Citi Field. So they'll be traveling to Citizens Field. The Phillies have starting to turn things around here. And if Harper's in the lineup, the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be a force to be reckoned with here. They got the Marlins today in the next couple days till Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. But the schedule is conducive towards the Phillies, and they can catch the Mets coming in, losing maybe 2 out of 3 to the Braves starting tomorrow.
Yeah, and the Mets, listen, I don't care how bad Atlanta's playing. That is the thorn in the Mets side. Year after year, no matter how the situation is, but Peterson, to me, to have a plus 110 with Peterson on the hill, who's been, pretty much their best pitcher all year, and Senga has been up there also. I give Peterson the nod, being a lefty, and then, having that complete game shutout was pretty big his last time out. So I think that might be a good. Who's going for Atlanta in that game? Do you know offhand?
I think Schwellenbach's pitching for Atlanta Braves.
Okay, he does well against the Mets usually. So that'll be an interesting one to decide, to see, where to plop the dollars on that one. But Peterson, to me, has been, really, we've seen a good Peterson over the years. It's just been inconsistent and injury prone, unfortunately. But when he's been healthy, he's pitched really well. And I think, that last start shows you what he's capable of. And he can, hopefully keep them in the game. And the bullpen, it's had its moments of good, its moments of bad, like every other bullpen. But you see that there's a lot of holes there. Like you said, they do need to make a move. You got to see what happens with Minaya coming back off the DL. Montas, the minor league starts don't look good, but we don't know what the plan is in the minor leagues. There could be don't worry about where they hit it, just look for placement or something like that. That's what I'm kind of hoping. So they might have some guys coming back off the DL starters that they re-signed one and free agent in the other, to try to make these next few series could really be. This could really be. We're going to know if the Mets are going to be there all year, or they could really show some ugly games against those two teams. How do you feel they're going to fare against Atlanta and Philly with these series coming up?
Well, when you take a look at it with the Mets taking on Atlanta tomorrow, as I mentioned, Trellenbach is pitching tomorrow, and in that matchup here, I think Braves right now, our opening line has Atlanta minus 135. And Peterson comes in with a 5-2 record with a 2.49 ERA. Schwellenbach is 5-4 with a 3.11 ERA. Bear in mind, the Mets have the best record in Major League Baseball at home, even though they got swept by Tampa 27-10. Mm-hmm. On the road, the Mets are just 18-17. Atlanta has been a big disappointment this year, 31-39. Yeah. They lost to Colorado on Sunday, which is embarrassing. But they do play well at home. They've been banged up. They've been decimated by injuries, the Atlanta Braves. And the Braves are right now, not going to catch the Mets in the East, but they are a wild card contender. Even though they're 8 games behind in the wild card, I still think there's time for them if they can get healthy. But I think Sale is going to be pitching on Wednesday. I think the Braves take 2 out of 3 from the Mets. Holmes is pitching for the Mets on Thursday, but I favor, even though Peterson's pitched well, I favor the Braves tomorrow, and I favor the Braves on Wednesday. Now, granted, I'm not interested in laying big price with Sale, but the one matchup that the Mets have an edge is with Holmes, and then, of course, with Philadelphia Phillies, we'll see what happens there. But the Phillies are very, if Harper's in the lineup, and you got Zach Wheeler pitching, and they got this young pitcher pitching going today, Abel, this Philly team, the Phillies have struggled, and they've been banged up, yet they're only 2 games behind the Mets in the loss column.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Philly guy and you look at that, the Mets have been at their best. The Phillies have had a lot of things go wrong, and they're still, like you said, 2 back in the loss, which is nothing. I mean, that could be made up in that series alone. We got about 3.5 minutes left, Joe. Give us some as a handicapper, some rules and things what they should stick by so they don't go too crazy out there. We want people to have fun. It's wagertainment. We don't want them to lose their shirt. So give them a little bit advice, maybe, if you will.
Well, number one thing is anyone out there making bets, treat this as an investment. I talk about this all the time on the Fine Line, on 880, ESPN New York. Treat this as an investment. You work hard for your money. Nobody likes to lose, whether you're betting $50 a game or you're betting 5 dimes a game or 10 dimes a game. Baseball, the most important thing is you want to bet the money line. You don't want to bet the run line, because baseball is one of the few sports where you just have to win the game. How often do we hear about NBA? How often do we hear about football? Oh, I got burnt by the half point, or I got hooked. I got beat by a half point. Yeah. Baseball, just win. And if you're betting a little bit more, if you're betting a couple of hundred or more, the number one criteria I just talked about, how the pitchers are the key factor. The pitchers are just like having a starting quarterback in the NFL. So if you're betting a baseball team and you're betting some substantial money on it, or whether you're betting 100 on it, you want to list your pitcher. And because baseball, if you make a bet, it's listed. It goes as action. So say if a pitcher gets scratched, something happens, somebody has a back problem, then you have action. But if you have a pitcher going, say for instance tomorrow, if you want the Mets and you want Peterson, you just list Peterson. If he doesn't pitch, then the bet, you get your money back. Baseball, money line, always. Don't do the run line. People are always playing these big favorites. Listen, if you're not sure, there's plenty of opportunities to pick games in baseball, so you don't have to sit there and bet every single game. But the biggest mistake people make that I noticed is that everyone's betting parlays and betting 3-game parlays, 4-game parlays, and you hear the same story. Oh, I lost by this one team, and people betting prop bets. The more bets you bet, the more bets you make, the less likely you are to win. All right? So if you can come up with 2 or 3 bets in a night, or 2 in one night, be happy. If you're pushing your luck, people ask me often, how many games do I get in one day? I'm like, listen, if I can go 3-0 on any given day, I am very happy. Sure. Sometimes I'll go 1-0 and I'm happy, because you don't have to bet a lot to make money. You can go 2-1 and make thousands of dollars if you're betting enough. So stay away from the parlays and stay away from making too many bets, because the biggest mistake I notice is people are betting way too many games.
Yeah, definitely, and they make it hard to say no with these profit boosts and all of that. And listen, if they're giving those things away, we know why, because they are sucker bets. So you're basically saying stick to straight bets, do your homework, make sure your pitcher, if you're going baseball money line. Definitely sound advice. because the parlay, everybody misses it by one leg. It's just the way it is. It's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. But we are going to have to leave it there, Joe. We're out of time. Dude, thank you so much for joining us again. You wrote the column for us once before. I'd love to get you back in the magazine. Give them your website and your time that they can find you on the radio in the morning, ESPN Radio.
On Instagram, Joe with Sports. You follow and you get free picks all the time. You get a free copy of the tip sheet. And I'm on ESPN New York, 880 AM every Saturday and Sunday morning. And thanks for having me on. Great show. And hopefully we gave some people some tips here on how to make money. Remember, stay away from parlays and don't bet too many games because you're playing into the bookmaker's hands.
Joe knows what he's talking about. Take his advice. Joe, thank you so much. Guys, have a great night. We will see you next Monday.
Noah, I have a job for you.
Jeez, it's not another arc, is it?
No, not again. This time I need a full-scale home renovation.
Noah Construction and Builders is your design and build partner. We do it all, from additions and dormers to full-scale renovations. Schedule your no-cost design consultation today. Visit us online at noahconstruction-builders.com.
Noah Construction and Builders, through dreams we design, with vision we build.